So you may be asking the question, what happens to bees during the winter? Hello, and welcome back to Traveling Homesteaders. It is mid-February here in southern Indiana. We've got snow on the ground. You can see snow on the hives, on the entrance of a few of the hives, a couple of them. The rest of them, the snow has melted off the entrance, or the bees have pushed it off. I haven't been out in the apiary in a while. Wanted to take a few minutes to just kind of show you what it looks like in the apiary during the winter. It's kind of boring. Can't really sit and watch the bees because they're inside. As winter is approaching, the bees are gathering as much honey, nectar, and turning it into honey as they can to make it through the winter. The object for a beekeeper is to leave enough honey in the hive for the hive to survive through the entire winter and into spring without having to feed. We're going for a natural method of beekeeping. We're not treating for anything, and we're not feeding sugar. That's our goal. Our plan is to allow the bees to survive on their own. And we try to catch, instead of buying bees, we try to catch bees from the area, swarms, so that they are used to this environment. A lot of beekeepers will purchase package bees. They're shipped in from all over the country and shipped to your different areas. And that's okay if that's the way you choose to do it. But what I have found is those bees don't survive. Most of, like the ones we've ordered, have come from Georgia. Well, the climate in Georgia is different than the climate here in southern Indiana. So the bees are not used to making it through a winter where it's as cold as it is here. So they ultimately die off, and we've spent the money to buy the bees and taken the time and effort to house them in a hive, and then we end up losing them because they're not accustomed to the weather. So I don't want to see a hive die, but I also don't want to put a bunch of effort and money into trying to make it live and then just constantly having to deal with feeding. I'd rather just put the bees in there, let them go, let them do their thing, and not have to mess with them. The bees themselves have started in late spring, summer through spring, all of that, to gather nectar and turn it into honey. And they store it. The object of the beekeeper is to leave enough stores for the bees to make it through the winter on their own. What they do at the beginning of winter is they form a cluster inside the hive, queen being in the center of that cluster, and all the worker bees surround the queen and keep the core of that cluster a certain temperature. And they'll take turns. The bees on the inside of the cluster will work their way to the outside, and the ones on the outside will work their way to the inside. And it's just this constant movement of bees. And when I say constant, I don't mean like they're always in there just constantly moving, but in a slow movement, they are all continually moving to, the outer bees moving into the inner core. That keeps the ones on the outside from having to do as much work the entire time, because to keep the temperature at a constant state, they're in there and they're vibrating their wings, and that creates heat. So they start, hopefully, at the beginning of winter at the bottom of the hive, and throughout the winter they slowly move up in the hive. The entire cluster, as one group, is moving up into the top part of the hive. You want to have enough honey stores and enough supers on there for the cluster to be able to continually move all the way up through winter and not get to the top until spring. That then allows, as spring comes, bees start going out and they start collecting more and bringing it in. That has allowed them to get through the winter without us having to feed or treat or open the hive at all and do anything to it. That's the goal. We hope that they all make it, but there's always typically at least some loss. It may not be an entire hive. Sometimes it is. You might lose the entire hive. Sometimes you're going to lose a portion of the hive, and it might come out of winter as a very weak hive, and then you take the spring to build it back up to a stronger hive, and then hopefully by the following winter it's ready to go through winter again. This hive and that hive, I've seen a few bees come and go. There's actually bees on the ground. During the winter, of course, the bees usually don't fly. They all stay clustered inside the hive to keep warm. We don't ever open the hive in the middle of the winter because that lets heat out and ends up killing your bees. On warm days, and when I say warm, typically I would think warmer than today. It's about 30 degrees, although standing in the sun with the sun shining on me, it does feel more than 30 degrees. On warm days, fly out and use the bathroom and go back in. In front of the hives here is a lot of dirty snow, so it's really easy to see when there's snow on the ground that they're doing cleansing flights. Unfortunately, there's also some bees on the ground, and these bees are getting ready to die, and so they fly out and die outside instead of in the hive. Now, when they can't fly because of the cold, they die in the hive and they just fall to the bottom, and then the bees, as things start to warm up, the bees will start pushing the dead bees out of the hive. And you hate to see any bees die, but it's the cycle of life with a beehive. Thank you all so much for hanging out with me today for a little bit. Really appreciate you all watching these videos and liking the videos and subscribing and sharing those videos. If you have any questions, comments, please leave them below. Would love to hear from you. If I've said something during this video that you think is incorrect, again, I'm not an expert at this. I'm still learning. So if I've given some information that's not correct, please let me know. If you have questions, I'll do my best to answer those and get you the information that you might need. If you haven't already, like the video, subscribe to our channel, and share with your friends. We'd really appreciate it. Thanks for watching.